Welcome to this issue of Threading Thoughts, where we will be talking about the oil and gas industry. The oil and gas sector is among the 8 core industries in India and acts as a major influencer for the decision making for all other important sections of the economy. Several policies have been implemented to fulfill the increasing demand, such as 100% foreign direct investment in many segments of the sector, including natural gas, petroleum products, and refineries. As of May 1st, 2021, the sector's total installed provisional refinery capacity stood at 249.9 MMT, and IOC emerged as the largest domestic refiner with a capacity of 69.7 MMT. Crude oil, natural gas, petrol, and diesel consumption is projected to increase significantly in the coming years. However, renewable resources and alternate energy forms are vying for space with the oil and gas industry, and it remains to be seen how the future plays out for this black gold. Mr. Rajendra Sisodia is the ex-Executive Director, Indian Oil Corporation, is the Chairman of Bitumen India Forum, and is a strategic advisor and consultant as well as a mentor to startups. He has over 37 years experience in upstream, midstream and downstream of refineries. He has also handled renewable energy, alternate fuels, gas, marketing, retail, institutional, lubes and operations. He is a globally distinguished speaker and keynote speaker in 22 international conferences on bitumen, petrochemicals, pet coke, RPC, CPC, needle coke, fuel cells, bunker fuels, sulfur, bitumen, emulsions, CRMB, PMB, and many more. He is a member of the IRC and BIS, and he is the Oil Industry Bitumen Coordinator under the Ministry of Petroleum for the timely execution of the prestigious Golden Quadrilateral Highway project. He has also handled the bitumen projects at 6 refineries and many other projects as well. He is also the Oil Industry Coordinator for the implementation of environmental regulations on use of pet coke and FO in NCR. He has dealt with multiple industries such as road construction, machinery, steel, power, cement, shipping and marine, textile, mining, and many more. Welcome to Threading Thoughts. We are so excited to have Sri Rajendra with us today, an expert in this field, in fact, expert in multiple fields, but and a very, very busy person. So we're so glad you were able to take some time off, join us, and talk to us about a few very important topics I think we need some clarity on. So thank you so much, sir, for joining us today.
Thank you, Mridula ji, and I also compliment you for locating me and also picking up such a dynamic and vibrant subject, which generally in the public domain is understood to be very, very complex. And I also thought that this will, give a better idea to people in general and people who are specific in this field. So it is going to be quite exciting and useful, I feel.
Thank you so much. Let me ask you something, because as you correctly said, we are quite confused about what's going on, or perhaps we are not having a clear idea. So could you walk us through the supply chain management in the oil industry? As a result of which basically consumers get petrol, diesel, other products as well. If you could just walk us through the supply chain, please.
All right. As you rightly mentioned, people keep hearing about crude oil, various products, petrol, diesel, and generally petrol, diesel, that's the end of oil industry as far as in general is concerned. So before going into the supply chain management of the oil industry is quite complex. And actually, there are 3 streams. Actually, it is divided. Whole industry is divided into 3 streams. One is upstream, then we have midstream and downstream. So upstream, what happens is that the oil which is getting explored from the earth, when the oil exploration is taking place, and then it gets brought up to the crude oil storage tanks. This is called as a upstream activity.
Okay.
And just to give a flavor of understanding to people, if you talk about Oil India, you talk about ONGC, these are called as the upstream oil companies.
Okay.
So they bring up the oil from the earth. And then this crude oil is transported in pipeline or in tankers to the refineries. So this transportation business, what happens, this is called as midstream.
Okay.
And then what happens is, then it goes to the
This
refinery,
is a refinery.
where in the refinery the crude oil gets processed, and you get multiple products. It's almost more than 40 products generally. All these 40 products, once they are produced in the refinery, they are then dispatched to the marketing locations. Once again,
Correct.
transportation in case of refinery to the marketing locations is pipeline, tankers, by sea, rail wagons also. So multiple transport sources are used. And then finally, from the depots of the oil companies, the product goes to the retail outlet, that is petrol, diesel. So
Wow.
that's how the whole thing travels. So the second activity, we talked first about upstream, then we talked about midstream, and then from refinery till it reaches the consumer, this is called as a downstream activity.
Okay.
So in the midstream, you would have heard there are pipelines, gas pipeline, product
Correct.
pipeline, Gas Authority of India. So these pipeline divisions are taking care of the midstream activity of the oil sector.
Okay.
And then you have refineries and these depots and terminals and retail outlet. They take care of the downstream activity of the oil industry. So this is what physically happens, and I'm sure people who would be listening and watching will be able to appreciate and understand better that oil sector is not something which is coming, which is in the air. It is actually, we can understand simply how
Right.
it happens. This was one portion, and then second portion is what actually happens. How do you get petrol and diesel? So this is a little complex exercise, but I'll try to make it as simple as possible.
Sure.
So what happens that in a month, in a oil company, like I have been with Indian Oil, and I have also dealt with industry, ministry, and so many agencies. So in a month, there is a big meeting of all the three streams, that is upstream, midstream, and downstream. This happens to decide as to what is the kind of crude oil requirement for next 3 months. And this exercise is right from your petrol, diesel. What will be the requirement of petrol, diesel, naphtha, industries, railways, STUs, army, navy, defense, and all those people? How much? So that is the job of the marketing division. So the people in the downstream side, they work out what their customers need. Say, for
Hmm.
example, petrol, diesel, for public understanding. So how much petrol, diesel we will need, say in next 3 months, 1, 2, 3, next 3 months. So this requirement is tabled in this. This meeting is called as business process optimization.
Okay.
Yeah. So the idea primarily is that what is the public requirement of various petroleum products, and since it is a foreign exchange consuming commodity when you talk about crude oil, because about 87% of the crude oil requirement we are importing, and our domestic production is only 13%.
Right.
So there is huge foreign exchange involved in importing the crude oil. So it has to be done meticulously, so that number one, as far as possible, we estimate the correct crude oil requirement, but yet we calculate in such a way that in public there is no shortage of petrol, diesel, or any other commodity. For
Correct.
example, LPG, it is very sensitive issue. So what happens is that all these 40 products requirement, once it is tabled in that meeting, then the refinery guys, they have their own issues. They have a refinery which can process certain kind of crude. Like there are about in Indian Oil alone, there were about more than 16 refineries.
Oh,
So at
wow.
16 refineries, somebody is Baroni, somebody Digboy, something is in Chennai, something in Baroda. So at all these places, different configuration of refineries, what kind of crude they will require. Actually, we deal with something about more than 75 kind of crudes.
Oh, my
So
God.
yeah, so 75 kind of crudes, 40 products, 16 refineries, three streams, different stream. So all this is required to be optimized and synchronized in such a way that ultimately the consumer of petrol and diesel gets petrol and diesel at the best price.
Correct.
He
Correct.
does not pay more than what he should normally. So this one full day exercise actually starts maybe 9 o'clock in the morning, and maybe sometime next day morning it ends, maybe in the night. But it has to be completed, because this crude oil requirement, once we work out, we also have to get the approval for imports, etc. So this is something in terms of supply chain management that I thought I would say it is a very complex process. Maybe we can have another call for understanding whole thing, but on overall basis, this is what actually happens. So once this plan is there, based on this plan, then the crude oil import takes place. Then at various refineries, various products are produced, and what the rest, what we see is in public as to how things get managed. So this is the overall supply chain management, what goes into the oil sector.
But it seems so complicated. For us, I think we see a very simple petrol, diesel, final product way. But there's just so much that you're talking about it. It's quite surprising because you're showing so many multiple layers of networking, working, multiple agencies. We are also talking about foreign exchange, which means that you're also reliant on, other firms or other companies or other countries, right? So it's no longer that simple
Yes.
as what we think it is.
Yes.
Which is very surprising. And having talked about crude oil, let me come to another point that I think we would like clarity on, right? Can you throw some light on the pricing? See, the petrol and diesel pricing is a huge pain point for us, given the fact that, most of us travel and it's quite difficult that way. But at the same time, it's critical for us in all walks of life. But we only see the fact that the prices are going up or that we have no control over it as well. And for a lot of us, of course, it becomes unmanageable from an economic standpoint. Can you throw a little bit of light on, this pricing structure, how it comes about, the challenges that one would face?
Yes, that is another the crude oil price fluctuations, particularly when the price is going up. That time only the question is more. When it is going down, nobody is questioning.
True, true.
So, but basically the question is about the fluctuations. What is the background? So basically, every commodity, including the crude oil, the basic fundamental is the supply demand. What does it say? So supply demand actually is in favor of supplier, and suppliers are, say, Middle East countries mostly.
Right.
Till now it used to be. So what was happening, you would have seen everybody is waiting that when the OPEC meeting will take place, what they will decide and things like that. So it was almost like a one-way story, that depending upon the mood or feel of the Gulf countries, they will decide whether price is going up or down. But having said that, important thing, when they want to raise the price, they will cut the supply, they will reduce the supply. That's why I said supply demand. So you reduce the supply, price will go up. For example, in COVID, what happened that everybody wanted to stock the material in the house because you will not be able to buy. So if your requirement was one, you were buying five. So
Absolutely.
market, there was a shortage, and when the shopkeeper is seeing the shortage, he will act accordingly,
Automatically increase the price, right? I mean, for
increase the price.
market sensitive.
Or simply earlier he was doing home delivery, now he may not do. You come and stand in the queue. So this is what. So what they were primarily doing is that when they want to increase the price, cut the production. So supply will be less, price will go up. When they want to bring down the price, increase the supply. So that's why you would see now when you read, I think you will have a different understanding. Now OPEC is cutting the production. Cutting the production means the price is going to go up. Or now they are increasing the production, that means price is going to come down. This is how the whole thing. But actually world has changed. This probably may not be much in public domain. Actually, US is a smart country. US have worked very hard, and they have come up with a new energy source which is called as shale gas. And shale gas is a alternative to oil. So they have a lot of shale gas production. So what they are basically doing is that when they want to control the price or have connect with the Middle East price, they will increase the supply of shale gas. So when the supply of shale gas increases, overall supply demand will change. So the moment shale gas supply goes up, Middle East will also bring down the price. So US says that, look, let's talk. If you don't talk, then I will increase the supply of shale gas. So automatically you have to come to terms. So this is what has slowly started bringing up a logic in the crude oil pricing. And one more thing, you would have seen geopolitical issues are also very important. You would have seen in the recent times, maybe about 1 year back or so, there were sanctions on certain countries by US. So as a result, India is importing from those countries. Almost 80% oil comes from Gulf. So India took a stand with US that, look, you may have sanctions, you have issue with them, you can raise sanctions on them, but we can't stop buying from. You would have read this in news. We can't stop buying because we have to run. Now look how smart US. US said, don't worry, we will give you oil. But then we said means I was involved in that exercise that okay, we can buy from US, but your freight is so much. Freight to India is very high. So now US says that don't worry, we will give you freight subsidy. We will match your landed price. We will give you at the price that you get from Gulf. So it is a answer to the geopolitical situation through bilateral cooperation. So, and I think I must say that it is a very progressive thinking and progressive working after so many years by the government of India, that they were working like a business. That all right, we have no problem. So just to inform you, now today we are importing something about 10 to 15% of our requirement from US.
Wow.
So from 0, it has gone to 15%.
Correct.
So at the same time, our dependability on the Gulf has reduced. Not only dependability, now they are very respectful to us about the price also. That you, why you increase your purchase, we will give you the discount. So, and that's why the idea of cooperation by the government is great. And I personally appreciate that. And by the way, Indian Oil was the first. Anything happens, this will be the first one challenge to be given by you have to purchase oil from US. This is what only government says. The rest of the things we have to just manage. So now this also changed that fluctuation in the prices. So that was some different move, which if people listen, they should get better understanding of.
Correct.
But coming next important point, coming to fluctuations, these are supply demand. And again, a very interesting example came during COVID, and to be precise, on 20th of April 2020. On 20th of April 2020, the crude oil price became minus $36.6. Price became minus. I don't know whether you might have read or not. Now, this was something which the whole world was seeing. By now the price has become minus, and general public minus price means now the oil sector has died. They are finished now. Price is minus means I have to pay to someone to sell something.
Exactly,
Suppose I am
exactly.
So now in public, many forums like this, people were asking, sir, now the price has become minus, and our price of petrol diesel is linked with crude oil price. So when the crude oil price has become minus $36.6, so now when we go to buy petrol diesel, that petrol pump fellow should give us some money. this became the understanding. So, but it is not as simple as that. So I will first explain how this became minus. This is
Yes.
important. What is the understanding of supply chain management or the fluctuation in price? So like COVID started in February, March, and the peak was going on after about mid of March or
Yes.
so. The peak
Yes.
was going on. Like I remember in India, in middle of March, we had this lockdown and all that.
Correct.
So from 1st April onwards, because the COVID was there, lockdowns started all over the world, including India. So the demand of petrol, diesel, as well as the ATF, aviation turbine fuel, that is used for the aircrafts,
Correct. Correct.
that became practically nil because all flights were cancelled.
Absolute lockdowns. Correct.
Absolute lockdown. So, and you would have seen nobody is going on the road because there is a curfew and things like that. So the demand started coming. But as I said, we in our business process optimization plan the crude theme for 3 months. It will come whether you like or don't like. Your refinery has to run, and when it runs, it will produce.
Right.
But if there are no buyers or demand is not there, then it will be difficult to contain. So what happened that now the refineries were running up, but upliftment, the product was not moving from the refineries. So in this situation, actually now there is a information which generally is not in public domain. There are two kinds of buyers of crude oil. One buyers are the traders. Traders means they will say, for example, buy from the oil company and then they will sell to the customers. The second buyers are the users, actual users, who
Right.
are the actual users like aviation companies. They will buy directly from the oil companies, and the others are the refineries for processing in the refineries. These are actual buyers. So what they do, suppose in a month they need 30 units of product from the oil. So one unit every day they will purchase, and then they process pro rata basis. They will buy one after another.
One after the
But
other.
means one ton first day, second, third, fourth, like that.
Correct.
Slowly the month they will consume. As we buy milk in our house, if I need one packet every day, I will buy one packet only. I will not buy 10 packets in a
And
day.
keep it for 10 days. Correct.
Will not do that. But the other kind of buyers are the traders. Now traders are watching the prices going up and down. So they, based on the experience, they sometimes feel, as you do see in the share market, when the price is going down, he will buy more. When the price is going up, he will sell and buy less. So this is the activity of traders. Now what happens that there is something called as the supply period of a contract of oil. Supply period of a contract of oil is 30 days or 60 days. Like today we
Right.
are on 20, till 26th of August, generally August, September, 2 months. So by 26th of September, I must buy the contracted quantity from the.
Right.
So what happens, this contracted quantity, these actual users, the refineries and the aviation companies, they will buy on daily basis.
Right.
Pro rata basis, they will not stock up or something. So, but traders can do that trading. Sometimes they will buy less or more. Now, what happened? This contract in the COVID period was going to get over on 21st of April.
Hmm.
But what happened from to end of March? The actual users, refineries and aviation companies, they were not able to buy because their flights are not running.
Correct, correct.
The demand has come down. So they were not in a position to buy. So the stocks started going up in the refineries. Now on 20th of April, what happened? 21st, the supply was the contract was to be over. 20th, they have to decide the price of selling. Now, oil companies said we have no requirement, we can't buy. So now these people went to the traders. Now traders said, yes, we can buy, but you have to pay for lifting. We will not pay you for lifting your material. It is just like that you have some garbage in your house and you want to dispose it off because it is taking a space in your house. So you will call a person to pick it up, but he may not pay you something, but he will charge you something for clearing. So this was like a paying for picking up. So these traders, they said, okay, so this $36 was the per barrel was the money they asked, that I will remove 1 barrel of oil for $36. Now, if refineries don't move this, their loss is much, much higher. So
True,
they said,
because
all right.
they have so much of stock, and it's just going to be sitting there. They can't do much.
Not only, and one more important, now since you have raised this point, one more important thing is that if the refinery has to run, if it shuts down, the per day cost of shutdown of a refinery here in India is about 2.5 crores.
Oh my God.
Roughly, because the whole unit will come down, it will cool down, and heating up takes place. It's a big setup actually. So you decide whether $36 or 2.5 crores, what you want. So they said, all right, we will pay you 30 after negotiation, $36. So that's how the price became minus 36. I am selling at loss. I am not gaining anything. So price appeared, it was minus $36. So my answer to those people who were asking is, humko, we should get, not only get free petrol, diesel, but the petrol
They should
pump
pay.
fellow should, because it is linked. So then I told them that, look, that oil company is buying at minus $36, but he's processing the product in the refinery. His cost is there, distribution cost. So that cost has to be paid. Price will come down based on the crude, but you can't get money out of it. So what I'm trying to say, this is business. This is supply demand. Now here what was happening, there was no demand, but supply was more, the price became
Right.
minus.
Right.
Now, another example for the people to understand. Right on 21st April, the next cycle of crude oil purchase was finalized. The price gets finalized. For the next cycle on 21st, the price finalized was $16. On 21st, the price is minus 36. On 16 for the next supply, it becomes $16. Now, people will say, sir, how this can happen? Minus 16, how this can happen? So minus 16 also, because this is important to understand actually that by that time, people were, the whole world was seeing as to how things are moving. People are taking care of corrective actions. Lockdown is taking place. So slowly, the demand will come up. You would have heard in India also.
Correct.
So consider that on 20, this is where the experience count. On 21st April, you should be able to visualize what is going to happen on 20th of September. Sorry, June, 20th of April.
Yes.
2 months later what situation is going to be, and based on that the price became 16 or $17. So this is the kind of price dynamics when it is going up or down. It is not something which is coming from the air. There is a logic as it goes. So many times people are also criticizing that government is not doing anything. Daam bad gaya, so much price has gone up. But background is like this. You can understand 83% of our, we are dependent on outside sources.
Correct,
We have
correct, absolutely.
no power at all to deal with this. But still, as I said, whatever best is possible, that we try to do. And this is generally called as a abnormal situation in business. They are actually the case studies for the people to understand the subject better.
Right.
So this is the oil price works.
Fascinating, because you so rightly pointed out how complicated this is. And I think fundamentally you've nailed the issue that we import quite a bit of it. And the problem is the dependence on the import means we depend on other people's pricing as well and their market fluctuations. This is phenomenal to see how much of market dynamics plays into all of this, because it's not such a simple, give and take sort of a policy. And it's amazing that small things like -36, we would never have understood what it meant unless you actually see how much of a pain a refinery has to go through or an oil firm has to go through to actually get
Yes.
product in. And they can't stop production, as you mentioned. The cost is prohibitive actually. But
Yes.
this is particularly, we were talking about lockdowns just now. So this COVID-19 has actually thrown us a little off, I think, track in a lot of ways. So, the decline in oil demand because of this COVID-19 has also led up to, perhaps not synchronously, but has also led up to a lot of electronic vehicles, renewable sources of energy. There are, of course, there's this underlying concern of, the future of this oil industry as a whole. So can you share your thoughts on some of these issues, maybe particularly in reference to India, but also just to give us an idea of, given these multiple facets of, concern, where do you think we are heading?
A very important point you have brought out, and a very important topic of not only general but very, very significant. And I actually will say this is a strategic point actually to understand. So the first and foremost thing is that crude oil, our crude oil requirement in 2017 estimated something about 220 million metric tons. And as per the government estimates, by 2039-40, our demand is going to be 500 million metric tons. 500, that's going to be more than double of what we had in 2017. And I am saying that this is including the cut on account of electronic vehicles or renewable sources of energy. That oil demand cut because of these reasons have been taken out. Then also your demand is going to be 500 million tons. I only want to say something about India. When I see 500, one thing comes to my mind, that in all these years that we have seen, we have not made much progress. There is so much of progress and development to take place that even after taking out electronic vehicles and renewable sources of energy, we are seeing a more than double demand by 2040, another 15 years.
Wow.
So I actually see this as an opportunity for India. And I'm not a political person, but when I sometimes hear Prime Minister, we have to look at this way, that we are way ahead. We are much, much better off than the world. So much of demand, so much of work will take place, so much of employment will take place, and we have the manpower available with us. So why it is 500 is a different reason, because we have not made progress earlier. But the fact of the matter is, this is a sign of growth for us, that so much of demand is going to be there, the work will take place. So looking at this demand of 500, there will be, and look at this, our refining capacity currently 17-18 was about 250 million tons, and after the RRPL refinery in Maharashtra, you would have heard, after that also comes, by 39-40 we are going to have only 317 million metric ton. Still we are going to be short by about 183 million metric ton in refining capacity.
Huge.
So again, when shortage is there, you will build up more refineries, more employment opportunities, more development will take place. So rather than seeing this COVID scenario, that's a very immediate kind of thing people are reacting to.
Absolutely.
Demand is not there, it is getting negative. It is not like that. That is one. And second important factor is that, again, it is a matter of development. You see, maybe you can have a discussion later. Plastic is something which has become part and parcel of your life today.
Absolutely.
See, since morning till evening, all your activities, everywhere you will see plastic.
Right.
And the plastic is made out of the petrochemicals. And the requirement of plastics and petrochemicals in United States and Europe is about 20 times more than the developing countries, including Southeast Asia and India. We are nowhere. And similarly, petrochemicals are also used for making fertilizers by producing ammonia.
Right.
There the requirement is 10 times than the developing countries. All developing countries put together, and the demand of US and Europe
is huge. Correct.
Huge demand. But they have done so much of progress that they have built up tremendous capacities of petrochemicals, because everything dishwashers, washing machines, still in our country many people would not have seen what is washing machine. Dishwasher also is a thing.
Dishwasher also is not, maybe more urban than,
not very common, but this is also using a plastic which is of a very special kind, and this is made out of petrochemicals.
Oh, wow.
So this is the sign of things to follow. That again, what is happening, that US and Europe, they had built up capacities. Now the development has taken place and their capacities are underutilized because requirement there is coming down. So, but in the Southeast Asian countries and including India, the demand is going up. So, seeing this imbalance, what is going to happen is that additional production facilities are required in this part of the world, and some imports will take place so that they will produce in their facilities and can send the material. Now, with this background, I want to say that of the total oil global requirement, 13% is consumed by petrochemicals.
Oh, okay.
Currently. And by 2030, this will become 33%.
Oh, wow.
And by 2050, it will become 50%. So you can understand that we are talking about electric vehicles, we are talking about renewable sources of energy, so the oil demand will come. But this is another area where the oil demand will be positive, or demand will continue. So oil industry, rather than having a feeling that is going to finish, nothing is going to be there, this area is also not known to many people. So I feel very sorry, but even in some big conferences, people are not aware about petrochemical. So they will start saying that oil sector is finished now, nothing is going to happen. But this thing about petrochemicals need to be understood, and probably some of the people who are involved in business of petrochemicals and listening to this can take advantage of this to plan their business this way. So petrochemicals are going to help the generation of demand of oil, as I said. So that's a very important point you brought out.
I think this is fascinating because most of us don't realize that there is a growth, a steady growth in the oil industry and the need for the oil industry as well. Because the moment you hear renewable or petrochemicals, we somehow do not associate it with the oil industry at all. We just think it replaces the oil industry. We don't realize these are almost ancillary industries, for example, petrochemicals, that require the oil industry to function well in order to get the petrochemicals themselves. So it's very
Yes.
that insight, I think, is incredibly useful. But when you spoke about petrochemicals, you said that they're going to grow in a very large way. They are going to make a huge mark that way. Could you
Yeah.
explain a little more on that or share your thoughts? Because we would love to
Um,
know what is happening, at least in the petrochemical side. What is it? Why is it so critical? And how is it going to help us?
Uh, mm, Actually, this is a subject in itself.
Absolutely.
How petrochemicals is going to be, but with the time that is available with us, in brief, I will say that over a period of time, why petrochemical this plastics have gone. Actually, petrochemicals primarily are used for making different kind of plastics, ultimate
Okay.
product from the
Okay.
perspective of public. But when I sometimes talk to you petrochemical, then there are multiple options and details. So in general, what has happened over a period of time, plastic has replaced bulk materials like steel, aluminum, cement, all these materials,
Absolutely.
including so they have including your packaging and things like that. So all these materials have got replaced by plastic. And in India itself, by 2000, the demand had doubled.
Right. Right.
Plastic demand had doubled, and this growth of plastics is to continue further. So
Right.
that's the scenario of plastics, because this has got multiple use. And one more interesting thing, I am not someone who is a propagator of plastic, but as of now, world over, there is no alternative material to the plastic
True.
use.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
So, to my mind, if I can say, at least for next about 15-20 years, plastics will continue this way, and so will be the petrochemicals.
Right.
This is, this is what is appearing to be. So considering this, now I will just give you a glimpse of how what is the Indian position. In India, our demand of petrochemicals in 2017 was 16 million metric ton, and by 2040 it is expected to go up to 40, again more than double.
Oh, wow. That's a huge jump.
Yeah, and I will just share with you, and I will tell the people who are listening or will watch it. Kindly try and listen to the statements of the government in different forums. Their fundamentals are very very strong. Generally, people will say "sarkari hai, government hai." It's not that. They talk with fact. So why I am again and again telling 2017, because in that World Economic Forum, 2017 was the base and 2040 was the projected
Right. Right.
requirements. These are all government, and I picked up from there. I am not talking from my. I'm only, since I know this subject, I am able to understand what they were trying to
Absolutely.
say. But generally, a feeling is government hai, theek hai, they will make some statement. It not. They are very serious. Their figures are perfect. So more than double the demand is taking place. Whereas the capacity in 2017 was 8, and it will move up to only 18 by 2040. So you will have a deficit of 22.
Right.
So my piece of advice to people that this 22 will also bring up a lot of trading opportunity for the people who do business. Have some arrangement of import with the people in US and Europe, because they are going to have underutilization of the capacity. So they would like to export
They'd
that
like to
material.
send it to places where they use it, right?
And second is, nowadays I get a lot of queries for consultancy from Korea particularly. They are very keen to invest in India for putting up petrochemical facilities, because they know very well.
Right.
They all study that when such a scenario is there, if I put up a plant, it will
Correct.
get my money very fast.
Absolutely.
So this is the kind of scenario which is developing in petrochemicals. And you have asked a very right question, because I love talking petrochemicals, because nobody talks petrochemicals. Whereas it's
Very
such
true,
a
very true. Because we actually don't
important.
understand the depth of usage of petrochemicals and also the raw materials required for it as well. I mean, how it is formed and where it is used. I think those two are so important. We don't
Yeah.
realize how complicated that structure is.
And just to add what I said, this COVID also has added another opportunity for plastics, because the requirement in the industry of your fridge, TV, washing machine, dishwashers, and all that, their demand has increased by something about 30%.
Absolutely, absolutely. With the lock
So
and complete lack of any sort of help and mass, movement into the rural areas, as you mentioned
yes.
correctly, all of these gadgets have picked up so much of, power or importance.
Yes, yeah. Very good point. Actually, this is a very detailed subject. So maybe sometimes we can talk about it whenever there is an opportunity.
Absolutely. I think this actually demands another podcast just on petrochemicals, given that it's an interesting topic.
Uh,
But
yeah.
I mean, this is fascinating because this gives us such a clear picture of why we are so affected by so many of these crude oil prices, why it's affecting us in somehow, somewhere in India, just because of a global phenomenon. I think that that clarity has at least come through now. I'm sure there are so much more that we can talk about what happens, what are the challenges and others. But for now, I think it is absolutely great you were able to clarify. And I need to thank you so much for taking so much time off. Petrochemicals is something I definitely think we need to investigate a lot more on and invest time in it. That's something we are all very keen to learn about as well. But perhaps not this time. But thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure just talking to you, and the fact that you're able to take time off to actually explain this is what is happening, which we did, most of us might not have an idea about. So
Thank you, Mridulaji. I also thank you profusely that you're making this effort to, collect some thoughts and views like this on these important topics and get across to people, so that jointly put together, we share this knowledge, and ultimately people who are going to hear this or who are going to listen to this, probably it can add values in their knowledge, or in their business, or in their operations. I will be too pleased to get any kind of feedback, or any kind of questions which people have. You can share the contact details or whatever way. This will be my pleasure.
that's so sweet of you. Thank you for your time. The pleasure was definitely ours because we were able to gain so much knowledge in such a short period. There are, of course, lots that you can go into, but for a layman, especially from not from that sector, these seem very multi-layered. So sometimes we are not able to understand the effects going beyond what we see. So which is quite short-sighted that way. So thank you so much again, and it was a complete pleasure.
Thank you.